By the time 1963 came, a lot of countries in Africa were getting their independence, at least some we know about at that time. Ghana got it, Nigeria got it, Uganda got it. Later some other countries would get it, but the word was out. Get your independence. And at the same time in America, we were fighting for civil rights. So both were happening at the same time. In 1962, the forefathers of African independence came out with something known as the Organization of African Unity, better known as the OAU, which would become what we know today as the African Union. Let's fast forward all the way to 1963, where Malcolm X was having an issue with his beloved Nation of Islam, and the split was getting ugly. Malcolm X lost trust in Elijah Muhammad, and he split. His new venture, the Organization of Afro-American Unity, the OAAU. Now, if you look at both of those things, they sound very similar, and they are. Malcolm X's perspective was linked to what he saw on his trips to Africa, and that's why it was important for him to start the Organization of Afro-American Unity. Let's listen to why Malcolm X felt it was so important for African Americans in Africa to work together.
The Organization of Afro-American Unity sees the only hope for the black man in America in a strong Africa, and the necessity of the Afro-American becoming inseparably linked with the overall program that's existing on the African continent. The two problems must be solved together, and the two forces must go forward together. And so the Organization of Afro-American Unity has a program to link the Afro-Americans with the Africans and the Africans with the Afro-Americans. When I say Afro-Americans, I mean those throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. This is our only hope. Our hope is in a strong Africa.
But let's get to this part of the clip. He's going to mention something about China.
And when Africa is strong, our position in America will be one of respect. But if Africa is weak, we will never be in a position of respect in America. They used to have a saying that one doesn't have a Chinaman's chance. But they don't say that anymore. They used that expression back when China was weak. But now since Mao Zedong has been successful in making China a strong country, the Chinese have more chance than anybody else. So this saying has become outdated. Well, just as it took a strong China to give a Chinese person respect wherever that Chinese person is found on this earth, when we get a strong Africa, the person of African origin or African ancestry will be respected any place on this earth, even in America. But he will not be respected in America until Africa is strong, just as the Chinaman wasn't respected abroad until China became strong.
By the time 1965 came, Malcolm X was assassinated. We all know the story. But his prediction about China is even more true to this day. China is a world dominant power with the third most popular currency in the world. But let's get back to the African American and African unity thing. How has it worked so far? Rewind! As you know, the migrant crisis is affecting America, in particular, New York City and Chicago, because that's our first and third largest city in America, and it's affecting the black sectors of these cities the most. When we look at Chicago, we see it on the south side and on the west side and many other sides where blacks live. In New York City, we're seeing it in the legendary city of Harlem. And migrants are coming over and they need help. But one group of migrants are standing out, those migrants from West Africa. Now remember I talked about that earlier, how migrants were living in Queens in a furniture store. But this time, they're still coming over and they need help. Help from who? Let's check out the clip.
They persecute me in my country.
He says political persecution forced him to flee Guinea, West Africa, a nation where significant human rights issues are a concern.
My life is safe here. I'm not afraid. I have no fear here because I know that I'm to the United States.
He says back home, others told him to head to New York City once he got to the U.S., and that's exactly what he did.
I traveled to Istanbul first. After Istanbul, Bogota, from Colombia, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, before coming to the United States.
He's been here for less than 6 months, and like many migrants, he's facing challenges.
It's a little bit difficult because we don't have no working permit, no social.
Now, this is a young man from Guinea. Things are so bad for him, he don't even want to show his face. But let's go back to the sister who was running this particular migrant camp, and she's just not helping Africans. She's helping everybody. Why do the Africans feel so comfortable coming there?
She staffs her office with volunteers, most of them also migrants and asylum seekers.
The reality of it is Black migrants are not going to go to the city and ask for help. They're going to come to people that look like them for help. They're going to go to their houses of worship. They're going to go to their faith institutions that they recognize for help.
Yes, because they are attracted to people who look like them. They don't want to go to the whites. Now, you guys know what I'm about to say, right? Whether it's the African Americans or Africans, the first thing that we do when we see each other is we believe we're from a common ancestry. So that brings us together. The fact that we look like each other. And that's what happens when African Americans like me come to Africa or live in Uganda, or the same thing when they come to America. But I want you to check out this comment that was on this particular YouTube video. I'm not gonna read it verbatim, but what did the guy say? Listen, these people are not our folks. And that creates the divide right there. The issue with the West African migrants coming into Harlem is that they're coming into Harlem, a place that they don't know. And they're coming into Harlem with a group of blacks that's already been there that don't look at them as their own group. But they're coming and then they're looking for help. The migrants look at it as, well, we're here, we need help, and you are black. Why are you not helping us? And the African Americans are looking at it like, well, we've helped you before and you've had nothing but animosity towards us. And then you're gonna have some Africans respond to that saying, well, you didn't help us do anything. It's our hard work and ingenuity. We're doing better than you right now. I know this isn't every conversation, but these are conversations that happen in the black world. And the question that I'm focusing on is, how will the West African migrants be treated by African Americans in the city of New York? Here's what I honestly believe. Me living in Uganda, being as a person that comes from a country that is not here, do people have certain sympathies for me? Yes, sure. Do people help you? Yes, sure. But ultimately, what do people have to do? Look out for themselves. It's unfortunate that, I would have problems if I'm stuck here, but it's not their problem, right? And I believe the lady in the Chicago video I did a few days ago said it best here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to start off by saying it's nice to see the young people here. All right, I have a heart, okay? I do have a heart, but what I do not appreciate is your issue with us and our need for self-preservation, okay? This country has not made it made clean with us as African Americans here. We should not give them a pass on what happens with us here, okay? You appointed a deputy mayor of immigration because we have a refugee immigrant crisis. You've been having a crisis in the city. Where's our deputy mayor?
Self-preservation is key. Here's what we gotta also understand. And for any migrant coming to any country or any immigrant like myself, self-preservation is key. Now, I'm not saying that the West African migrants are looking for help from the African American community. But what I am saying is this: people are going to self-preserve themselves. That means it's hard in New York City for African Americans, it's hard for Jamaican Americans, it's hard for any American, right? And then taxpayers' money are being paid out to support these people that are coming from Senegal. It's how we gotta look at it. I know this is Pan-Africanism and we wanna help our brothers and sisters, but we gotta look at what the investment is. And Pan-Africanism as somehow must address what each side is getting. What are Africans getting? What are Caribbeans getting? What are Black British getting? What's African Americans is getting? If that cannot be solved by a tangible solution, Pan-Africanism has a hole that needs to be filled. And I'm gonna tell you, when I'm coming over here to Africa or African Americans struggling in Africa, hey, listen, nobody's looking to give you a helping hand if things don't go your way. And it's gonna be the same with these migrants coming into New York City. People are gonna look at them like, hey, listen, black brother, we know that things is hard in Africa, but yo, those are my tax dollars going to fund you. And here's something else that has happened. Do you know that migrant families in New York City can get more than some military officers in war right now in Afghanistan? I know you don't believe me. Play the clip.
All right, now in New York City, illegal immigrants can officially receive prepaid debit cards as part of a $53 million program, giving the average family of four more than $1,400 per month. It's more than the allowance for some deployed troops. Fox News Digital breaking it all down, saying, quote, while an average military family is suffering from a deficit of $1,860 over a period of 9 months, a similarly sized illegal migrant family is being given nearly 7 times more.
That's right. You got to look at it like this. It's not going to be Black Americans' fault that migrants from any part of the world are there. Let me go back to the whole situation with Malcolm X, because I started with that. I want to end with that. Africa must be successful for Blacks here, for Blacks everywhere. And for Africa to be successful, it must mean that Blacks must be allowed to do well where they're living and not coming to other places that may impede on other folks. That's what it means. And both groups should work together and want to work together, but situations like this create certain divisions. And again, this is not to blame Senegal or West Africans for looking for a better life, but it starts there. It starts with the conversation of, hey, we have been here, our tax dollars fund here, we work here, you come in here, at least this particular group, you're coming here for nothing, and then our money is funding you to be here. And then if you do well, you start to have an attitude with me as if you're better than me when we helped you come here based on our tax dollars. That's the conversation. And I'm pretty sure that's how people feel. A lot of folks feel in Black America. Here's what I want to talk about on a bigger scale to end the video. Africa must be successful. African Americans must be successful. Somehow, some way, we have to address this particular hard problem to make Pan-Africanism work, to stop what we're seeing happening with the migrants coming in, especially the Black migrants. This must happen in order for there to be unity, because when you have some of these guys leaving Africa, it only denotes one thing: that Africa is getting weaker, not stronger. And if Africa is getting weaker, that means on the flip side, Black Americans will be getting weaker. And I know that you don't think that, but that's the case. Wherever I go in the world, people do not look at me as a Black American. People look at me, or any Black person, as part of the African world. And so unless you open your mouth, you don't get respect. But like Malcolm X said, with a Chinese person, it was a time that Chinese people were laughed at. He talked about it. You don't have a Chinaman's chance. But in 1965, China started doing this thing. In 2024, you got all kinds of people studying Chinese and Mandarin in college now. It's a true thing. Now, you won't find Swahili being studied as much as Chinese, but Chinese is an official business language in most places. They have the 3rd largest currency base with the Chinese RMB. They have so many advantages. So when Chinese people show up in the world now, they get respect, unlike 60 years ago. So instead of this being a reason to be dividing, we need to somehow figure out, and I know some brothers don't like this, but really, we are stronger together. This is going to be a complex process, and we're going to be put in some situations that are going to be unfavorable. But the Black world must look at this as an opportunity somehow to slowly come together so that everybody can work it out. Guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Back at it again here at the King Ghana channel. I'm out.